Delta Force capture Maduro so quickly.
America's back toppling again, because today we're going to learn how Delta Force captured Maduro.
May have used a secret weapon to put Maduro's guards completely out of action.
From a heavily fortified base inside Venezuela, and examine the massive 150 aircraft air campaign overhead. Then we'll look at who's actually in control of the country now. The first thing you need to know is the American raid really started 4 months ago, with what's called Phase 1 shaping operations. It began in August when a group of CIA officers were secretly inserted on the ground into the country. They created intelligence packets that tracked Venezuelan President Maduro's movements down to the hour, and they operated a fleet of stealth drones that sent constant live updates, professionally stalking his position. The clandestine operation developed what's called a pattern of life, which is fancy intelligence speak for what we would call a daily routine. This way, intelligence officers narrowed down Maduro's location to Fort Tiuna military complex. Large base that lies just south of the capital of Caracas, where 3 million people live. On Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, in the dead of night at 2 a.m. local time, the US government gave the green light on Operation Codename Absolute Resolve. The US military launched a wave of targeted missile strikes all across the capital city. Oh boy, here I go toppling again. Bombs were launched from 20 different bases and ships. The ground assault element chosen for the raid was 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, conducted an extraordinary military operation to bring outlaw dictator Nicolás Maduro to justice.
And somewhat surprisingly, law enforcement from FBI agents from the hostage rescue team were also embedded alongside them to arrest Maduro. The bold tactics used for the insertion method shocked many military analysts. Reportedly, 11 American helicopters from the elite 160th SOAR Night Stalkers were deployed to spearhead this raid. SOAR is like the stunt drivers, but for helicopters, and they're loaded with like 300 special operators in the back. The team launched from the USS Iwo Jima Navy amphibious assault ship that's parked just a few miles off the coast of Venezuela. They flew low, only about 100 feet above the Caribbean Sea, to avoid enemy radar detection. Then they traveled the dangerous stretch of 10 miles over land, from the northern shores to Fort Tiuna. They came under fire en route. One helicopter was reportedly damaged, but it was still able to remain operational. As the air assault flew across the capital, explosions erupted behind them, and it was uploaded live onto X. The operators used the MH-47G Chinooks and the MH-60L, which are special variant helicopters which have unique countermeasures. Then they approached the base, and the Ocean's 11 style raid began. Raiding this complex is an extraordinarily risky job to even undertake. Fort Tiuna has hardened concrete gates. There are pillboxes built into the mountain right there with firing positions on the high ground, armed guard towers, and continuous 24/7 patrols. It's sort of like Venezuela's version of the Pentagon. You can see here it's built right into the side of the mountain to give defenders the height advantage, as well as being able to dig deep underground. Its perimeter is pretty large. It's got about 2 miles wide by 4 miles long. Intelligence reports estimate that 5,000 of Maduro's most elite soldiers are assigned to this post. According to reports, Maduro constantly moved around the country, changing where he slept each night and throwing out burner phones to avoid being tracked to this location. But the base's defenses were defeated partly because starting in mid-December, US Cyber Command laid the groundwork by targeting the power infrastructure, planting malware in their systems. When Cyber Command flipped the switch, it turned the lights off in the country, completely killing electricity to the base and large parts of the capital city. This cut off communications and made coordinating any kind of response extremely difficult. So the soldiers disembarked from the helicopters, the commandos hit the ground, and headed directly to the on-base house that Maduro was holed up in. US General Kane said that the raiding force came under direct fire, which prompted American forces to respond with, quote, overwhelming force and self-defense, end quote.
Never worn any political merchandise or said anything to that effect.
Looking at the Spanish local news reporting of the situation, They report that the response from the people of Venezuela has been mixed, saying, quote, residents expressed shock at the US military attack that left them wondering who was now actually in charge of the oil-rich nation. Some are celebrating the fall of the dictator, other pro-Maduro factions are riding around with weaponry, angry at what they see as American imperialism. People are hoping that if Maduro is out of power, sanctions against the country will be reduced, and possibly the economy would improve. Others are skeptical of what will happen in the power vacuum. But was any of this even legal in the first place? When the US captured Saddam and Noriega, they had some kind of congressional approval. When the Libyan dictator was toppled, they too had some kind of congressional approval. This attack was conducted without any kind of notification or authorization. What happens to Maduro from here? Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Maduro would stand trial for criminal charges in the United States for narco trafficking in New York City federal courts. Maduro maintains his innocence.